Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at Warhammer 40,000 Faction Focus Chaos Demons. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Some would-be warlords borrow the powers of the warp in their own ends, but true greatness is reserved for those who belong wholly to the Imperium Squall. The Chaos Demons that inhabit the hellish realms of the Immaterium are a force unlike any mortal army, rending the very fabric of reality as they assail the galaxy in a wanton carnival of corruption and slaughter. Overview. Chaos Demons are an aggressive faction who really come in their own in the maelstrom of close combat, though they're by no means helpless at range. Every one of their units sports an invulnerable save, meaning they have little to fear from the enemy armor-busting weapons, and an army-wide deep strike means they can surge from warp portals to engage their prey before a shot has even been fired. Faction rules. The very presence of demonic legion is enough to tear reality at the seams, casting a dread pall across the battlefield. The shadow of chaos invigorates chaos demons and enfeebles their foes, advancing ever further as their never-born nightmares capture more objectives and infuse the battlefield itself with otherworldly madness. Chaos Demons Army Rule. The Shadow of Chaos. If your army faction is Legions Demonica, certain areas of the battlefield are considered to be within your army's shadow of chaos as follows. Your deployment zone is always within your army's shadow of chaos. At the start of any phase, if you control at least half the objective markers within No Man's Land, until the end of the phase, No Man's Land is within your army's shadow of chaos. At the start of any phase, if you control at least half of the objective markers within your opponent's deployment zone, until the end of the phase, your opponent's deployment zone is within your army's shadow of chaos. Demonic Manifestation. While a Legion's Demonica unit from your army is within your army's shadow of chaos, each time that unit takes a battle shock test, add 1 to the test, and if the test is passed, one model in the unit regains up to a D3 lost wounds. If that unit is a battle line unit, and that test is passed, up to a D3 destroyed models can be returned to the unit instead. And then finally we have the Demonic Terror. While an enemy unit is within your army's shadow of chaos, each time that unit takes a battle shock test, subtract 1 from that test, and if that unit's test is failed, that enemy unit suffers a D3 mortal wounds. So it sort of has the inverse effect on your opponent. You heal a D3, they lose a D3. A canny Chaos Demon player who leaps on key objectives can turn whole swathes of the battlefield into dangerous no-go zones for their opponent, whether that's No Man's Land, the space between deployment zones, or their own territory. As if it weren't bad enough for mortals to have their resolve sapped with their foes empowered, demons who use the Demonic Incursion detachment can open their warp rifts even closer to the enemy than usual. So Chaos Demons Demonic Incursion Detachment Rule. Warp Rifts. Each time a Legion's Demonica unit from your army is set up on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, if it is set up wholly within your army's Shadow of Chaos, it can be set up anywhere that is more than 6 horizontally away from all enemy models, instead of more than 9. It's common for demons to be conjured forth by mortal followers of the Dark Gods, especially when a warband of Chaos Space Marines pledges allegiance to a particular patron. The Demonic Pact rule allows a certain number of demons to join Chaos armies based on the size of the battle being fought, though they won't bring the Shadow of Chaos with them, as your army faction isn't Chaos Demons. So being able to summon within that 9-inch range, and only being restricted to 6 inches, is massive for making those big charges, or stopping your opponent who's doing a good job screening out 9 inches, but not 6. Alright, and then we have the Chaos Demons Army Rule. So Demonic Pact. If every model from your army has the Chaos keyword, you can include Legion's Demonica units in your army. Even if you don't have the faction keyword you selected in the Select Army Faction step. The combined point cost of such units you can include depends on the battle size, as shown below. So Incursion up to 250 points, Strike Force 500 points, Onslaught 750 points. And that's for 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 respectively. None of these models can be your warlord, and they cannot be given enhancements. In addition, if your army faction is World Eaters, you can only include Khorne. If your army is Thousand Suns, you can only include Tzeentch. If your army is Death Guard, you can only include Nurgle. And this one is different because we don't actually have a book for Slaanesh yet. They're not technically their own faction. So if your warlord is Lucius the Eternal, the special character of Slaanesh, then you can include Slaanesh Demons. And we're probably not too far out from the Emperor's Children getting their own codex, and then this just turning into the same rule as all the other factions have. Alright, so next we have the unit spotlight. Baying hordes of lesser wolfspawn are commanded by greater demons, giant monstrosities who ripple with the essence of a particular ruinous power. Each is a profane reflection of their progenitor's proclivities. The Keeper of Secrets, for instance, wheels and whirls with Slaanesh's grace, weaving through enemy attacking and striking with quicksilver speed. So we see Keeper of Secrets, movement 14, toughness 10, save is 5+, wounds 18, leadership 6+, OC 5. And then we have quite a few different weapons because we're including the psychic powers as profiles. So we have the ranged weapon, living whip, 12-inch range, attack 6, 2 ballistic skill, strength 6, AP -1, 2 damage. And then we have Phantasmagoria, and we have 2 different profiles. The first is regular Witchfire, the second is focused Witchfire. They both have devastating wounds and psychic, but the focused has hazardous as well, so it has a chance to hurt the Keeper of Secrets. So we have range 18, attack 6, 2+, strength 6, -2, 1 damage. And then if you use the focused, you do have hazardous, but now you get an extra 3 shots, so it goes from 6 to 9. Everything else stays the same. And then melee weapons, we have the ritual knife, extra attacks. We have snapping claws, devastating wounds, extra attacks, and white stealer sword. So the extra attack rule means they already have a primary weapon, but they get to make attacks with a secondary or other weapon. So the ritual knife is 3 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, AP -2, 2 damage. The snapping claws are 4 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, -2, 3 damage. And the white stealer sword is 6 attacks, hitting on 2's, strength 8, -2, 3 damage. So quite the arsenal. And then core, deadly demise, D6, deep strike, faction, the shadow of chaos. And then Demon Lord of Slaanesh aura. While a friendly Slaanesh Legion's Demonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, improve the armor penetration of melee weapons that unit by 1. So an extra -1 on all Slaanesh demon melee weapons within 6. And then Mesmerizing Form. Each time an attack targets this model, subtract 1 from the hit roll, that is shooting and combat. And then we see War Gear abilities, Shining Aegis. The bearer has a Feel No Pain of 5+. And then damage 1 through 6. While this model has 1 to 6 wounds remaining, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And then Invulnerable Save 4+. So pretty strong, typically in line with what we've seen in the past. It is a little different to see the psychic powers getting rolled into the data sheets. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it yet. Some have seemed very strong. Others have seemed a little lackluster. But without the full picture, it's tough to tell if something is better or worse. I don't know if things with psychic powers are going to get slightly worse, but also be less expensive. We really just have to wait and see. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. Demons are creatures of primeval instinct, a bundle of mad impulses wrapped in a facsimile of matter. But those who once were mortal may retain an identity and ambitions of their own. Among these powerful figures, one name stands out above all others as a schemer and manipulator par excellence. Be'lakor, the Dark Master, first of the Demon Princes. So we see Be'lakor, move 12, toughness 10, 4+ save, 18 wounds, leadership 6+, OC 5. So for ranged weapons, we have the Betraying Shades, and it is Witchfire, or we have a Focus Witchfire profile as well. It has devastating wounds, ignore cover, and psychic. The Focused has devastating wounds, hazardous, ignore cover, and psychic. So again, you're going to get 3 extra shots, but you have the potential to hurt yourself. So the range for Witchfire is 18, attacks 9, 2+ ballistic skill, strength 5, -2 AP, 1 damage. Or with Focused, it is still 18 range, but it goes from 9 to 12 attacks, still hits on 2s, but it goes from 5 to 6 strength. And then the AP goes from -2 to -3, still 1 damage. So pretty strong, 12 shots hitting on 2s. So you're going to hit with 10 of these. And let's say you're attacking just a regular Space Marine, You're going to be wounding on 3s, 2s if you're attacking something with toughness 3, and with -3 AP, you're going to be doing quite a few kills with this. So it is a powerful shooting attack. And then we have the melee weapons, the Blade of Shadows, strike, lethal hits, or sweep. So strike is 6 attacks, sweep is 14, both hit on 2s. Strike is 14 strength, sweep is 8, AP -4 on strike, AP -3 on sweep. And the strike is a d6 plus 1 damage, the sweep is just a flat 1. Alright, and then we have Shadow Form abilities. Wreathed in Shadows, Oro Psychic. While the friendly Legion's Demonica unit is within 6 of this model, that unit can only be targeted by a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 18. Pale of Despair, Aura Psychic. In the Battle Shock step of your opponent's command phase, if the enemy unit that is below its starting strength is within 6 of this model, that unit must take a Battle Shock test. For the purpose of this ability, if a unit has a starting strength of 1, it's considered to be below its starting strength, while it has lost 1 or more wounds. And then Shadow Lord or a Psychic, while a friendly Legion's Demonica unit is within 6 of this model, you can reroll Battle Shock and Leadership tests for that unit. And then for Core, Deadly Demise D6, Deep Strike, and Stealth. Faction, the Shadow of Chaos, and then the Dark Master Aura. The area of the battlefield within 6 inches of this model is considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos. So that's pretty strong. You can basically move up with Be'lakor, and then you can drop summoned demons within 6 inches of Be'lakor, and they just have to remain 6 inches from your opponent. And then we had the damage 1 to 6 wounds remaining. While this model has 1 to 6 wounds remaining, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And then invulnerable save 4+. So pretty strong, definitely interesting without the psychic powers though. They incorporated some into his little shadow form ability, and then some are his ranged attacks. Definitely feels a little bit underwhelming, but we will see. So great is Be'lakor's power that he strides the battlefield wrapped in a cloak of shadows, corrupting all who come near and casting a thick shroud of darkness across those demons that call him master. When he closes with his foe, the Blade of Shadows makes quick work of man and machine alike, sweeping entire squads aside or slicing tanks in half with ease. Alright, and then we're going to finish up with the weapon spotlight. Units normally have to pick just one of their melee weapons to fight with given turn, but many warriors go to war with powerful steeds, vicious pets, or weaponized cybernetics. The extra attacks weapon ability allow these to make extra attacks. It's particularly common amongst Chaos Demons, who are absolutely festooned with tails, claws, bile blades, and other prehensile nastiness. So we have the Bile Blade for the Great Unclean One. Extra attacks, lethal hits. Range melee, attacks 3, weapon skill 2, strength 6, AP -2, 2 damage. And the extra attacks ability, weapons with extra attacks in their profile are known as extra attacks weapons. Each time the bearer of such a weapon fights, it can make attacks with this weapon in addition to the one it chooses to fight with. The number of attacks made with an extra attacks weapon cannot be modified by other rules. So these are almost always going to be worse profiles, but additional attacks. So you're not going to choose them as your primary weapon, but it is some extra hits you get to punch in there. Extra attacks is by no means limited to Chaos Demons. From Cavalry to Carnifexes, the rule shows up on a wide variety of datasheets from other factions. When a wielder of demonic power does put their full strength behind their signature weapons, little in the mortal universe can stand before them. Scarband is notorious for the sheer number of heads he's cleaved from unwilling donors. In no small part thanks to the destructive might of his creatively named axes, Slaughter and Carnage. So we see Slaughter and Carnage, strike, melee, 8 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 16, AP -4, 6 damage. And sweep, melee, attack 16, weapon skill 2, strength 8, AP -1, and 2 damage. So you can either have 8 attacks at strength 16 or 16 attacks at strength 8. Pretty freaking strong. And then finally we have the Stratagem Spotlight. Several of the stratagems granted by Demonic Incursion Detachment interact further with the Shadows of Chaos, surging in strength as Realscape wears thin. An impatient demon general can even create localized squalls of warp gloom on objectives they control, ensuring that battlefield remains under their influence even as they hunt for further prey. Corrupt Real Space, 1 command point. When the start of a command phase. Target 1 Legion's Demonica unit from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control. Effect: that objective marker is said to be corrupted and remains under your control, even if you have no models within range of it, until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any turn. In addition, while an objective marker is corrupted and under your control, the area of the battlefield within 6 inches of this objective marker is considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos. So pretty cool, definitely leaning in on the shadow of chaos. Corrupt real space is a powerful strategic tool for defending your turf, as it will weaken the morale of any enemy who gets within range of the objective, and failed battle shack tests will prevent them from retaking it at all. An objective is only captured when the total objective control of nearby models exceeds that of their opponent, so a unit with OC 0 will effectively tie, even when faced with a complete lack of challengers. And just a quick word from the studio. Robin from the Warhammer Design Studio has given us the lowdown on the crackling denizens of the warp. When one faces an army of chaos demons, they are facing the warp itself. For where they fight, the boundaries between real space and immaterium are thin. That's the intent behind their army rule. The idea being that as chaos demons fight, they spread the warp itself over the battlefield. And while such a thing is beneficial to demons, it's a literal hellscape to mortals. Chaos demon armies are predominantly melee focused, and with every unit being able to deep strike, it's no easy task for a foe to keep themselves safe. This is especially true thanks to the demonic incursion detachment rule warp strike, which enables demons to claw their way out of the immaterium and slaughter any who venture into their territory. So pretty interesting. Again, I'm kind of reserving judgment a bit until we have just like the full scope of rules. So between the warp rule and all these special abilities and everything, I think leadership is going to be very strong in this edition, especially if you can alter whether or not somebody controls an objective without actually having to kill them. Lots of cool abilities stacking right here. And while it does feel like Psychic has gotten toned down quite a bit, a lot of the abilities have just been rolled into regular datasheet abilities. And then on top of that, being able to warp strike in at 6 inches away instead of 9 is very strong. Your chance of hitting a charge goes up substantially, and it's very, very difficult for your opponent to screen you out. So I'm interested to see how demons play, but it does seem very thematic. If you are currently a demons player or play against them, know the rules very well, let me know if you think something is specifically missing here or something has been changed to be more powerful or less powerful. Always like to hear back from you guys and your opinions. Definitely enjoying the little teasers that we're getting for these factions, and really looking forward to the new edition in its entirety. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check them out to save 15%, link in the description. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I fell to chaos long ago, and I'm out of here.